tips and tricks, some networking, and lots of support. I'm Linda Brubaker, and I'm a career coach, and I've been doing this now for almost 8 years, as I think about it. And the idea is that what we're trying to do is give you some support. It's a networking group, it's a support group. We're here to give you some tips and tricks. Now, I come to this role after over 20 years of work in HR as an HR business partner, a recruiter, a headhunter, and a hiring manager. So the information that I give you, including that from the career coaching side of things, comes from all sides of the desk. I know that what we do works. And so we're here to give you that kind of advice and support. Now, I do this as a labor of love. This is something as my way of giving back, and I'm really excited to do this. It's supported by the work that I do as a career coach. So if you'd like to work with me, I'm going to put my information in the chat. But my goal is to be able to give you in these meetings that free kind of support. Sue Griffey is here as well, and Sue is another support person. Sue, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thanks, Linda. I am really happy to be here, even though I know it's not your ideal place, but it is a place you get support. I was just posting about it this morning. It is a supportive community. I've gotten to know a lot of you already. I see some new faces and names, and I know Linda would say this, so I'm saying it for her. Put a 1 or new in capitals in the chat so Linda can acknowledge you after she finishes the intro to the meeting. I run a global mentoring consultancy. That means I mentor people in transition all around the world. But the most unique thing that you'll see from me all the time is pom-poms. I bring the celebrations of big, small, and in between, and even when you don't think you're making progress. And what I was really thinking about today is how many people come to the meeting now with incremental steps and learn to celebrate themselves by sharing it with all of us. So tell us what you've done, got a phone call back, even spent time putting into applications. Some people have been in slumps. We go each week with some people saying, I'm in a slump, what can I do? And I'm so glad Diana's here today. This is something Diana will help us on, as we heard last week from Terrence, also the kinds of things that you're having to deal with when your resilience is low. So not everybody in the group has low resilience. Some people are up. And so we all use our network to support you. Thank you for my long introduction.
No, thank you, Sue. That was perfect. Okay, Diana, I'm going to let you introduce yourself when you do your slides. Is that okay? Because what I'd like to do is start with some of our quick wins. Okay, so if anybody's had a quick win this week, raise your digital hand. Let's showcase and celebrate you. All right. David, unmute. Unmute. David, we can't hear you. Unmute. David.
All right.
There you go.
My name is David Pryor, and I made a connection with a guy named Daniel Seltzer. He told me about this one organization called the Clintonville Resource Center, and he says they might be looking for a data analysis in the future and possibly for finding grants. So I'm glad that he was able to guide me into that. So I'm going to be making a lot more contacts with that organization in the future.
Good for you. Let us know how it happens, how it goes.
All right.
Jim, you know.
Hi, yes, Jim Locascio. I'm from New Jersey. I don't know, it's something. I got a DM from a manager at the company I used to work at, and he asked me, if I was interested in talking to him about some positions that he, has coming up soon. So I responded yes, but I haven't heard from him yet. So, but it's something,
okay.
Right? Yeah.
It's absolutely something. And one of the things during this time of year is we need to make sure that we're continuing to do this kind of networking. People may be slower to respond, but the fact that you're reaching out, that you're making those contacts, you stand out even more than other people. So that really helps.
Thank
Okay,
you.
I'm going to keep going.
Hello, everyone. So my news is that I had a phone call this week with a company that I was targeting for very long, actually. And this particular HR person, I have sent her request several times. I never heard back, but she found me in LinkedIn for a particular role. And with her guidance, I applied for it. Now I don't know whether it'll move forward or not, but it was, good to connect with this critical person. I know she handles a lot of the marketing type roles within the company. And the other news that I have, I've been, trying to connect with some of the business leaders at, a few large companies. I finally got some connections, and I had the chance to talk with two of the, like the VP level business leaders actually in the two companies that I was interested in. So it was interesting, sort of small wins, I would say, at this time of the year.
Small wins add up to big wins.
Yes.
So as far as I'm concerned, that's a good thing.
Thank you. Agreed.
Keep us posted.
Yes.
Stephen,
Hello, good morning. My win actually started on the 1st. I had a very solid interview with Lawrence Livermore, which apparently went very well because on the 11th they called me and said they'd like to hire me. So right now
nice.
they're doing the background check. They vetted my references. So on pins and needles waiting for the next step. I want it to happen sooner rather than later. But the one thing I'm trying to do is not be too complacent or overconfident. I'm trying to push forward as if, because technically I don't have a job yet. So I'm pushing forward as if it's still status quo so that I don't get into this funk where, because if something happens, something goes sideways, funding gets pulled or whatever, I don't want to be caught in a negative space. I want to stay keeping forward and pushing forward as if I don't have a job, because right now, technically I don't. So, but for now, at least it's hopeful. It's very positive, but we'll wait and see. So I'm very happy.
I think that's fantastic news. Congratulations. And
Thank
both
you.
not just the idea of having the job and that job offer and one that you're really excited about, but that idea of continuing to look until you actually start, guys. Okay. The job search should continue. It doesn't have to be as strong, as focused, but keep it going. And by the way, if these are contract roles, keep it going even after the contract starts, because you're looking for that next role, and contracts are volatile. You never know when they're going to start and when they're going to end. Perfect. Thank you. Keep us posted.
No, I will.
All right. Hello, Joanna.
Hello. Okay, so I kind of feel kind of weird being on these calls because I mean, I've only been on the job hunt for a couple weeks. I don't want to like get into the whole details of my story, but
It doesn't make any difference. Job search is job search, whether it's
laid off in
one day
August,
or a year.
had a new one lined up. It didn't work out. I took the steps to leave just for my own personal mental and physical health. So now I'm out there trying to like learn the whole new job search thing again. But first of all, Stephen, congratulations. And I agree, keep that mentality.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Because yeah, I'm a good example, unfortunately. But I was talking to a friend of mine today, from a colleague, and he said, one of the other guys at the company he's letting his person go, and at the end of the year, I guess. So he mentioned that I'm looking. So I don't know. He's like, don't reach out to him. I've mentioned it. I'll keep mentioning it and let him reach out. So I guess that's just my really tiny little win that somebody passed my name along. Somebody.
There always wins. Okay. A win is even a rejection because you've had the activity. So the very
true.
start of your, right?
Yep.
Start of your story. So very quickly, in just a couple of sentences, what is it you're looking for, Joanna?
I am looking, my background is administrative, client relations. I've done that
Okay.
for the past 13 years with Northwestern Mutual. I am not hell-bent, excuse the language, on staying with financial services. I actually would like to get out and do something different. But
Okay.
yeah, I've got a keen eye for detail. I'm good with clients. So, the basic transferable office skills, soft skills, hard skills that everybody has. That's kind of what I'm looking for.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
My
And I
biggest
saw that
problem,
you're,
just
go ahead.
before I go, is my biggest problem is I'm in North Carolina and I'm used to making Massachusetts paycheck.
Ah, got it.
That's okay. I will deal with that.
Yep. Good. Okay. David.
Good afternoon and morning to everybody. I'd like to just share this story so that hopefully people will recognize other things to do even after you get a rejection. I had interviewed with a company a couple of weeks back. I got a rejection only because I lacked a specific skill, but the company wrote back. I got an email from HR which said, we actually still would like to see you as part of the company. So I wrote back to the HR person and said, well, is there any other HR manager that I should try to connect with? That was about 2 weeks ago. She finally wrote back today earlier saying, I haven't been ignoring your email. Company's been going through a few changes, but I will get back to you. So my point to everybody else is, even though you may not get the brass ring, as it were, in this case, keep pushing. You never know what might still come out. And I will tell you that there are companies still interviewing. I know I'm still going through a few, but I think in this case, just realize that just because you got a rejection doesn't mean you shouldn't ask, is there anybody else I should talk to? Because you still made a good impression.
And that's absolutely right. In fact, one of the things that I recommend is that people do when they get that rejection, okay, is that you reach back out with a thank you. You will be one of the very few people who does. That will automatically make you stand out. Thank you for your time. I really enjoyed the conversation. I loved what I learned about the company. May I keep in touch for future opportunities? Who else would you suggest that I speak with? And oh, by the way, can you give me some suggestions? What can I do to better prepare myself for a role like this here or elsewhere in the future? You're more likely to get some sort of response and follow up that way, because you're asking them in effect to be a mentor, as opposed to saying, what did I do wrong? Why didn't you accept me? Companies aren't likely to give that kind of feedback after an interview. But if you're asking, you made that relationship with someone on that team, whether it's HR or the hiring manager, they're more likely to give you that feedback if you say, what can I do to better prepare myself for a job like this here or elsewhere? It's not putting them on the spot, it's putting them in the role of giving you advice. So I've had people use that successfully, but it also helps you keep in touch and shows that you're really interested in those kinds of positions. So absolutely great advice. Okay, anybody else have a quick one that they want to share?
Linda, I don't see any wins, but we have one new person, Lisa Dick. I forget, I don't come every week, so I don't.
No, that's okay.
some names
Lisa,
are
that
new.
is a new name.
But
Go ahead.
Lisa is new. She said she was
Perfect.
new. So
Lisa, can you raise your hand so I can find you if you'd like to introduce yourself very quickly? Lisa, I see you. Are you willing to come on camera, Lisa?
I'm not able to come on camera. I'm actually on my cell phone.
That's
and
okay.
I'm having some technical difficulties.
Not a problem.
Yeah, so I'm new to the group. I'm I'm looking for an HR position. I'm located in Maryland. I was curious to know where everyone else is located, so I'm seeing some of that come through the chat. I am not tied to staying in HR at this point in my career. I just am open to maybe some new opportunities, but I have been applying, like probably a lot of you, to just, a lot of rejections. I did land a phone screen yesterday in a new industry, which I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to align with the industry. So I think they're going to move me forward, and I'm just in this space where, what do I do? Do I just use it as experience, and just try to find that next right position for me? So it's
Right.
unfortunate timing for me, but I'm making the best of it.
That's all we can
And I
do.
like everything I'm hearing.
Exactly. And the idea is you're looking for your next forever job. There are no forever jobs anymore. More importantly, you're looking to hire your next manager, your next company. And so you keep looking, you keep reaching out, you keep making changes. One of the things I want you all to know is that you all have transferable skills, and putting those transferable skills to use, finding ways of demonstrating them to that next employer. That's what we're trying to talk about. And that's one of the things that not only I help people with, but that this group helps people with, is to bring people that idea of what are those transferable skills, whether it's going from job to job or industry to industry. Showcasing what you can do for somebody else is really what's all important. Okay. So that's one of the things we want to be able to do. All right. Before I go into Diana and let her start talking about what we want to talk about, I want to remind you again to put your information in the chat. Okay, I'm going to do that with mine as well. But I also want to tell you that we have a private group on LinkedIn. Now, a private group on LinkedIn means that LinkedIn, you can't find it, okay, without knowing what it is. It's another private space. And what we do is that in that private group, I will, after the meeting, I will list the AI summary. You notice that may be on. It's a way of summarize that LinkedIn gives, or excuse me, that Zoom gives us of summarizing the meeting. And that will go in the chat in the private group. The chat will go into the private group. And I will post the video because for some reason live streaming isn't working this morning. But I will post the video by later this afternoon. That's going to be available on YouTube, and I will put that link in the private group or in the chat as well. Okay, but that private group, the only way you can join the group is by registering for these meetings, coming to these meetings, and then requesting it. Now, if you and I are first level connections, I can automatically invite you, but otherwise you have to make the request and I will do it. But the only people who join that group or are allowed to join that group are people who are registered for that. That's one of the things that makes it a private space, that makes it a safe space where you can share jobs, where you can ask questions, get answers, get support. Okay, so I'm going to do that and then let Bo do his thing, and then we'll go into Diana.
Thank you, Linda. Just a couple of ideas to try and help people before we start. Some people have the perception that it's really, really hard to find a job right during the holidays. And I just want to let you all know that December 22nd, one year, I got a job. So I want to remind you of that. I also want to tell you that take advantage of the holiday networking opportunities that you may not have throughout the year. Holiday parties, family get-togethers, and bring your business cards. Great way to network. So don't forget about those things. Hope that helps.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
And actually, I got a job just before Christmas and actually started the week between Christmas and New Year's. Okay, so those opportunities are absolutely still there. All right. We're lots of things to be grateful for today. Lots of quick wins. Lots of things coming on. And with Thanksgiving coming up next week, I don't know about you guys, but I have, regardless of everything else going on, lots of things to be grateful for. And I'm excited about that. And one of the things that I'm going to be honest about it, my kids are coming over and they're bringing dinner. So I'm not cooking this year. So as far as I'm concerned, I get the best of both worlds. Okay, although I love to cook, it'll be nice this year not to have to do that. In any event, what I want to do now is introduce our speaker for the day, who's going to be talking about the idea of gratitude. We all know that attitude does affect what you do. It really does. And so Diana is going to help walk us through some of that. So get your questions ready. Diana, all yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And welcome, everybody. It's good to be here and it's good to meet everyone. I do have a few slides that I've put together that I do want to show, and just to give you some ideas. Bear with me just a minute.
Absolutely. There you go.
Great. So just by way of a little housekeeping, my presentation is up on my second monitor. And what I've noticed is every time I actually glance at a slide, it's going to look like my eyes are looking upwards. So you're going to see them go up, down, all around. But anyway.
By the way, I will put the slides in the private group after the meeting.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
So we're going to talk today about gratitude. I'm going to tell you a little about my story, my history, and how I came to start studying all this and getting involved, and how I created my company. But one thing to think about is that gratitude can really move you from stressed and confused to motivated and in control of your career. And we're going to talk a little bit about how that happens. But first, I'm going to give you a little history on me. So professionally, I have probably now, I hate to admit it, but probably over 35 years of professional experience. I started off in national account management, calling on retailers, spent about 13 years in the apparel industry, and also then after that, general merchandise, and also a little bit of time in watches. The last 14 years, I crisscrossed over into software as a service, but still servicing those industries of retail, apparel, and CPG. And most recently, I was with Instacart. I am building this business as a future fourth quarter retirement business, and have been working on it for the last 2 years. But a little bit about my story of the genesis of how I came to this business and to study all these subjects. This slide really shows the story of my life in 5 pictures. I spent quite a bit of time from 2000 to 2016 taking care of my mother. I had elder care responsibilities for her. She had a 16-year odyssey with Alzheimer's, and anyone who's had a parent who's had Alzheimer's knows that that is a very tough road to go down. It is time demanding, and it's financially demanding as well. And the second picture really illustrates my financial situation, which has gone on for a lot of that time and still continues to this day, that money appears to be a few steps out of my grasp usually, and that has been a challenge. The third picture really kind of illustrates what happened during that period of time on top of the medical challenges and family challenges, is that I was involved in 5 corporate downsizings between 2004 to 2014, and I've had a couple since then. So one of the questions I kept asking myself during this time is, why is this happening to me? And not to be in the victim mentality about it, but I have noticed from looking at different people in job seeking groups and whatnot, that it does tend to hit some people more than others. And there is a piece about resilience on that, about learning how to cope. I went through outplacement 3 times during that period of time, and I noticed that there was a lot of great structures in the job seeking world and all the coaching world and all the resources that there are for job seekers. There's some tremendously wonderful resources. But what I did find that, based on what I was going through, that there was a lack of really good, deep emotional support and understanding why this happens, really from an emotional and a spiritual perspective. So I spent a lot of time, picture number 4, going inward, taking time, taking classes, doing a lot of reading, and studying a number of different healing modalities such as meditation, mindfulness, Reiki, and calming, as well as gratitude calming methodologies. And that led me to pursue my PhD, which I completed in 2021. And I have a PhD in holistic coaching, where I focus on a 360 process of both internal and external qualities for job search. And ultimately, what I'm trying to get to, and I think a lot of people are trying to get to, is picture number 5, which is the place of Zen and calmness, and just feeling good, feeling happy, and in general, feeling happy about their life. So I have a philosophy about the job search process, and I believe it's a myth that this is only an external process, and this is really a lot of what we learn when we're going through a job search. External is what I call the tactical steps, which we're all very, very familiar with: resume revisions, LinkedIn optimization, all of the networking that's necessary, job search groups, interviewing, incremental income, either through consulting or through freelancing or through part-time jobs, the volunteering opportunities, and then of course the supportive communities that we would be in to meet with like-minded people who are going through the same challenge. But at the same time, everybody has really kind of an opportunity for the soulful introspection on this, which really is about taking time to reconcile the transition, understanding your financial situation to really understand how long you can stay without income coming in, the practice of gratitude, which we will talk about today, mindfulness, creating a calm space in the home, a place where you can go to and retreat, and you can calm, you can meditate, you can journal, you can make lists, you can incubate ideas, you can think about other ways to market yourself, but a calm space where you can be alone to do that. Reading, meditating, journaling, all very, very important to be recording your thoughts during this time. Working on what are your values and what really are your values. Sometimes we get so caught up in our work and in hunting the deer for the company, so to speak, that we really kind of forget what our values are. And sometimes it takes one of these situations to kind of just break us out of that and sit down and really look at what matters the most, because then you can really align a job search action plan that coordinates with your values, and you might decide you want to be doing something different, use different skill sets, be in a different industry, that kind of thing. And then last but not least, it's managing the manifestation of your new job or your new career, whatever that's going to be looking like. So in talking about gratitude, gratitude is very, very tied into the remedy for stress. And I think we're all pretty well aware of what stress symptoms look like. A lot of anger, depression, headache, there's varying degrees of those. Hysterics, some people, it really affects some people very dramatically. And I think one of the things that happens most commonly during job search is insomnia, because there's that uncertainty about the future, and you tend to wake up a few times at night, might have some dreams that are a little bit more jarring. So that's all tied into stress. But there have been many studies on gratitude's effect on stress and cortisol. Cortisol is the stress hormone. And people who regularly practice gratitude do see a reduced cortisol level and stress within their bodies, because gratitude activates the parasympathetic nervous system, and that is the system that regulates your rest and relaxation. It also fosters emotional resistance, and it really helps enhance sleep quality. Now, what happens is one does gratitude, and we're going to talk about just very simple steps in a gratitude practice. But what you will notice is as you start making a list, even of just 5 things, one to 3 things, that you start, once you start thinking about what you're grateful for, you will physically notice your shoulders relax. You will start noticing probably from the upper body, you might, wherever you've had tension in your body, you will notice the muscles start to relax the minute that you start thinking about things that you're grateful for and that make you happy. So we're, as Linda has said, we are going into a major holiday season, and the first of which is called Thanksgiving. And, you know, Thanksgiving during job search can be a little bit challenging, because the initial reaction is, what in the world do I have to be thankful for? But I think this time does give us an ample opportunity to slow down and just take stock of what your journey has been this year. So there's a piece about thinking about how far you've come. These situations, when we get put into a job search, force us to learn new things. It forces us to cope with things that in some cases we were never thinking about before. And those are new skills that you're learning emotionally and, technical skills, anything else that you've learned so far this year. And how has this challenge really shaped your resiliency? We talk a lot about rejection in job search. If you have not been in sales as your job function, you have not been regularly experiencing rejection. Okay. Most salespeople know how to handle that, especially the ones that are the business development people that are the hunters. They're getting that all the time. But for people in other job functions, we don't normally experience a lot of rejection. So how has that experience shaped your resilience and helped you to grow stronger and move forward? The other key thing to think about at Thanksgiving really is your relationships. Now, this is something that probably we could talk about for hours, but one of the things to look at is how healthy are the relationships that are in your life? Really, how healthy are they? And separating friends from family, but you can look at both, because are they supportive, and are they going to, how can they support you in your journey, or do they support you in your journey? And I'm going to impart one piece of advice for Thanksgiving. I know this is a major family holiday for people who have very large families, but in some cases, you might have some relatives that you don't care to be around at this time. And it might serve you better for your own personal resilience and your own healing to not go to a giant family gathering where you're going to have relatives that don't support you. And if you do get into a situation where you go, but that person is going to be there, I would suggest just coming up with, prepare yourself in advance for the conversation, because there's always going to be one well-meaning relative that's going to start grilling you about your job search if they know that you're in a job search. And they may have never lost a job. So I would be prepared with some answers. Oh, I'm learning new things. I've got a lot of opportunities that, you don't need to get too specific. And then the other piece of it, pivot the conversation back onto them. What's new with you? What's going on? What projects are you working on? That kind of a thing. So be prepared for those conversations if you're going to be involved in that. Now, this is probably the most famous meal of the year, maybe outside of Christmas dinner or Easter dinners or the Seder dinner or Hanukkah or anything like that. But this is probably the most famous meal that we have. So really take the time to savor the meal mindfully. So think of the flavors, the textures, the aromas. If you're pairing if wine's being paired with the meal, think about how wonderful the wine pairing could be. But think about embracing that moment fully, really, and mindfully eat that meal slowly, and just enjoy it while you're there. It's also an opportunity maybe to share stories with your family and whatnot, and maybe think about doing something different this year, like playing a card game, taking a board game, play a board game that the family can join into. Maybe something different than just sitting down and watching sports, or go for a walk, take the dog for a walk. Do something that's a little bit out of the norm that you wouldn't do normally. Just a thought. There's also an opportunity to recognize your challenges as valuable lessons. I think we've talked about this a little bit a few slides ago in terms of resilience, but every challenge is really a teacher in disguise. Not only the situation, but sometimes the people. Think about the lessons that you've learned this year, and then recognize this as forward stepping stones on a total life journey. Because I'll tell you, after you go through this journey, you're gonna be changed. You're gonna feel more resilient, and you're gonna learn more things. And you're also gonna find that you're probably a lot more observant about the markets, about business, about trends in your industry, and you're going to keep vigilant to be able to protect yourself such that you can avoid this happening again, or you can be proactive about it. And last but not least, 2025 is going to come around in about another 6 weeks or so. So look to the future with intention and focus on how you want to feel, and ground yourself in the gratitude. Something to think about is that when you worry is actually a negative form of prayer, and what you focus on, you will bring into your life. So in this time, now is a great time to start planning out 2025. It's a great time to start thinking about what is your job search going to look like in Q1, Q2. I would also highly suggest that you start looking at incremental streams of income that you can have coming in either through consulting, other ways, monetize your skills, your hobbies, your interests. There's plenty of ways to do that nowadays online without leaving the house. Okay. Start a YouTube channel, do something new that will bring in money, because I don't know if any of you ever saw the variety acts that used to be on TV where they had the plate spinning act, and he'd have like 3 or 4 or 5 plates spinning on the sticks. You want to have multiple things going that bring in income, so that if one goes down, you've got income coming in from the others. And that's why it's so critical to understand your monthly budget and things like that, your family budget, so that you can weather these storms, when they come. Because believe me, they will come again. The market is not stagnant. It moves, it ebbs and flows every single day. So just a thought on all that. So this is a little bit about what I do and what I've created. I really walk through an 8-part pathway with people, understanding the employment landscape and working on budgets in your situation, custom tailoring it to your situation. We do talk about the transition, and we do work on transitioning emotionally and mentally and emotionally. We do talk about a calm space in the home. And then I have a very simple values test to identify your top values, and we create a job vision based on that. And then a career action plan that's aligned with that vision. And when you start digging into your values, you might be surprised that you potentially could be in the wrong line of work, which is what I discovered when I did mine. And then we take all that and we put that into your personal brand, which is the traditional resume, LinkedIn, and your strategy for posting on LinkedIn and what you're going to do on LinkedIn to be presenting that brand accordingly. Then we talk about incremental income and how you can get some incremental income going. I am not in a multi-level marketing company. That's not why I'm stressing this, but I'm stressing it because if you're always thinking that way, you're going to keep busy with part-time work and other things while you're job seeking. It really minimizes the rejection feeling when you have other things going. I can tell you that. And last but not least, talking about manifesting those action steps with an action plan. So that's what I work on with people. I am going to start a job seeker support group in December, and we are going to talk about how Christmas affects job search. So, Bo, that was very timely. Your thoughts on that? It is an excellent time to be networking, an excellent time to be planning for 2025 because a lot of people are out. So Friday, December 13th at 12 noon, and Linda will be a co-host on the call with me. We are partnering, and Sue will be on the call as well, helping out. So we want to help you in your December search. And last but not least, I leave you with the thought that your job transition does not need to hurt. Believe it or not, it doesn't need to hurt. It can be a time of tremendous growth, and it can pivot your life in a whole new direction that you really didn't think was possible. So I leave you with that. I wish you good holidays and good fortune and good luck in your job search. And I will leave you with one job search tip that I discovered within the last 2 weeks. I'm out there looking a bit myself because I'm always looking for incremental income. So I noticed that I got the notifications about the searches that I showed up in. Okay. And they had a list of 5 companies on this search on my LinkedIn feed. So I went to every one of those companies, and one in particular stood out because it was in the outplacement industry. And I noticed that they had been recently acquired by another company in the outplacement industry. So I went to the website for the company that did the acquiring, and I saw that they had a customer success position open. And that's my background. That customer success position was not on LinkedIn. I applied for that position, and I'm talking to them on Friday. So it does help, and you can get in the weirdest ways into this. And not only that, there's another outplacement company that I've been interested in, and I'm talking to them. I talked to them yesterday. I'm talking to them Friday also about a part-time position And I worked with one of my coach colleagues to network my way into that company. And it's a company that I've actually been through outplacement with twice. So I know them pretty well. I know a lot of people over there. But that's all happened for me this week. And you know what? The whole thing may disintegrate by next Monday. I don't know. But I'll just put more in the pipeline and keep going. I know exactly how long I have before I need to start getting some additional income coming in. And each day is, you know, who am I going to meet? What am I going to do and move forward? So that's really my story, and happy to answer any questions. I did put my information into the chat. More than happy to talk with people and meet people and all that. So thank you,
Wonderful.
Linda, for letting me speak on the subject.
Absolutely. Thank you. Can you stop sharing your slides, please?
Yes.
Wonderful. Appreciate it. Great presentation. Anybody have any questions for Diana or any comments? We'd love to be able to do that. Diana, would you please put your LinkedIn URL again in the bottom of in the chat?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, so that people can connect with you if you're willing to do that.
Sure.
Okay. One of the things that I want you to know is that we are going to be talking also about that whole idea of what can you do to prepare yourself for the next steps. Put yourself in place for December or for January. And I think that is December 13th or 20th. I'm not quite sure. We are taking next week off, by the way, so that people can live that gratitude, get themselves ready for Thanksgiving. And just as a reminder, our next meeting will be the first Wednesday in December, and that's going to be an Ask Me Anything. It's kind of a job seeker free-for-all. Whatever questions you have, those are the ones that we're going to answer. So make sure that you start putting those together so that we can talk about them and support you in the ways that you really need to be supported that first Wednesday in December. Now, in the meantime, remember to put all your information in the chat, share that, your LinkedIn URLs and all the rest of it. And we want to be able to connect with each other and support each other. Join our private group. But in the meantime, who's got a question or an idea that they'd like to share about this whole idea of gratitude and attitude and anything else that we can continue to help you with today?
Linda, in the chat, it was sort of a question from Joanne who asked Diana for more ideas for incremental income beyond YouTube, if you or anybody else has them.
Okay.
Sure.
Perfect. Go ahead, Diana.
Sure. Certainly the easiest one that comes to mind is stores during the holiday season that need people to help. Retail stores are hiring. I'm sure Macy's is hiring. There's stores that you can go to work in, and that's not going to be the highest amount of money, but it gets you out there, and it will work with unemployment. Usually you can earn up to half your unemployment without getting dinged. You have to take a look at what skills and hobbies and things that you have. For people who, it depends on what you do. Administrative assistants and things like that. There's a whole world out there called virtual assistants for people, for entrepreneurs who need to hire people to help them with their businesses. I know a fella on LinkedIn. I saw him. He was a good landscape person. He loved gardening, and he lived in Austin, Texas, and he started a whole side business with his neighbors in his cul-de-sac, and it caught on fire, and all of a sudden he had to hire help, and he was going to form an LLC and start a business, and he had worked for Dell in IT. Mm-hmm. So things like that. What are you good at? I know a woman who started a website on she was quite the crocheter, knitting and crocheting and everything like that. And she made things, and she was a retired teacher, PhD in computer science. And she started this online business, and she makes over 6 figures with her teaching courses online. If you are a teacher, that's one of the easiest things to get into, because you know how to do lesson plans, and if you've done training and things like that. If you're in tech, it's really anything helping a lot of people like myself who are trying to do these online businesses. We need technical help. We need things like that for people who are good at it. So all kinds of different things based on your skills and hobbies and interests.
My skills are basically people say, a linear thinker. And this is just sort of off the side too, but I wanted to volunteer with the state of North Carolina with, I believe like the official role is called an assister with like the healthcare, the state
Mhm.
healthcare marketplace, just providing people with options, explaining what they, not making recommendations, not helping with applications, but just saying, here are your options. This is what a deductible is versus a copay. I would love to do that. And I wanted to do that. And they would not let me do that because I am insurance licensed.
Well, it might have just been the wrong place at the wrong time on that. But with you think of what you've got with this insurance license. For one thing, the
Yeah.
entire insurance industry, especially if you have a knowledge in the Medicare of that thing, that's hot because all the baby boomers, the tail end of the baby boomers are hitting 65, and believe me, it's a huge business of consulting with people and understanding what goes on based on the age and everything like that and what the ramifications are. I would check out all the companies that offer those plans of that knowledge, and then they have people. Medicare has people that work for Medicare that give that talk, that are in customer service, that you call when you call them, they're giving you the answers and things like that. As a person myself who is of that age, and I went through all that 2 years ago. I was on the phone with them quite a few times. So yeah, I would do that. And you feel free to message me and we can talk one-on-one. I have a friend of mine who used to work for Humana, who's an expert in this field.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah, and she knows it inside and out. So yeah, and she got her license. But
Okay.
you can always sell Medicare plans. I mean, that's very lucrative.
Mhm. So
Oh,
the idea, that's one of the things that I love about this group is that we share those ideas, both on screen, we share them in the group, and we share them in our private group. Please reach out to one another, and you can see how you get some of those conversations going. So that's great. One of the things that was also suggested in terms of incremental income, Deb Gates suggested it, is that in many states, you can be a substitute teacher, and they're hurting for substitute teachers. In many states, all you need is a bachelor's degree. And in fact, in some states, you don't even need that. It's income that works around your schedule. You can say, yes, you want this date. No, you don't. And it's a great way of not only bringing in a little bit of that incremental income, but it gives you the time to continue to do your job search and to interview and to do your networking. So thank you, Deb Gates, for that suggestion.
English as a second language is very hot too.
It is, but that
Right.
requires specialized training.
Okay.
Okay. But yes, absolutely. Anyone else? By the way, we do have one new person that I noticed, unfortunately, a little late. Let me see whether he's still on and whether he still wants to introduce himself. If not, I told him he could do it next time. I think it was Ben.
Hey, Linda.
Hey, can you put your camera on, Ben?
Yeah. Hello, I'm new here. I recently finished a contract role at a community college in the west suburbs of Chicago, and I'm just looking for a new role. Kind of open-ended at the moment. I'm either looking for a new grant writer role or a role in development or any other similar field. I have a background in several different industries, nonprofits, educational institutions, academic institutions, and nonprofit organizations.
So Linda, I've got my hand up for a couple reasons.
Go ahead, Bo. I think Linda might be frozen, so go
Hello?
ahead.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Ben, I'm also in the Chicago suburbs, and I had someone just this week reach out to me looking for someone to write grants for a nonprofit.
Oh, where at?
If you want to, I'll find out more detail.
Yeah,
In the South Elgin area.
Elgin area. Okay.
Yeah. But his name is Dion. I will go on and connect you, but there's an opportunity out there for you to start your own business. There's tremendous need out there if you would choose to go that way. My other thing I was going to ask is, Diana, you did a great job, and I was just going to ask, which time zone are you in? Are you talking Central Time, December 13th, for your meeting at noon?
Central Time. I live in Des Plaines, Chicagoland.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so
Yeah, let you and I connect, Ben.
yeah, I'll drop my LinkedIn. So yeah, it's right here.
Any more questions for Diana? I think Linda's probably trying to reconnect. So I'll take over the meeting. I'm going to have to drop off.
Wonderful tech gremlins this week.
I know it's really odd, and I don't always believe this, but it happened when I was in nursing school. The full moon played havoc with everything, and I attribute we're on the downside of the full moon, so maybe that's what's happening.
You know what? That's very true.
Yeah.
1000%.
Any last questions for Diana? Someone said great suggestions about the incremental roles, and I think that's really important to acknowledge, because we don't all hear the same kinds of things from people. And I think that was a useful reminder, Diana, of things that are in control on the job seeker side of the convo, because that's where you feel powerless when it's taken away from you and you're trying to reach out. So yeah, Macy's. I haven't been to Macy's in a while. Any last questions? Well, on behalf of Linda, because she hasn't texted, or I'm just going to close the meeting down, because I do have to go for another meeting, and so I won't be able to keep it open. Thanks, everybody, and happy Thanksgiving, or Thanksgiving to those who celebrate, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thanks for taking over.
Yeah, you're welcome. Good to see everybody. Take care.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Likewise.
Happy Thanksgiving.